Welcome to the Nifty Nuggets News and Reviews weekly podcast. In this week's episode, we're coming to you hotter than Chris Rock's slap bass. We're going to be talking about crypto taxes, whales buying BTC, in real life meetups, is that the new meta, as Miami NFT week kicks off, Axie suffering the biggest exploit in DeFi history, and we have an amazing whitelist opportunity for the upcoming NFT project Antebellum. So you're going to make sure you want to stay tuned to the end. Before we jump into the fryer, make sure you hit the bell notification so you know when the latest episodes drop, subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, and if you like what you hear, leave a comment below. You can also get us direct into your ears via Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and make sure you leave that 5-star review. Also, be sure to follow us on Twitter at NuggetsNifty. Now, let's get on with the show.
Nuggets Network.
So, joining me this week again with his hot hand of justice is Channing. How's it going, Channing?
Hey, good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good, thanks. Very good. I know you're normally bringing the fire, so I hope you've channeled this into your hand like Will Smith and gonna be smacking out all the subjects.
That's a good one. That's one of the historic moments on the Oscar awards.
Yeah, it certainly is, and we'll be talking more about the effects of history throughout the podcast. Before we start, I just want to remind everyone that this podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and neither Channing nor myself are financial advisors, so always DYOR, which is do your own research. So,
do your own research, fellas.
Yeah,
that's very important.
very, very important. And kicking us off, as always, we're going to be looking at the market. So I see the market cap for BTC is, or the market as a whole, sorry, is 2.2 trillion. Channing, I'll let you do the rest.
Okay, so have a look at the market cap right now. It's $2.268 trillion. That's a lot. And then last 24 hours, it has increased 4.5%. 24 hours trading volume is $135 million. That's a lot of money. And the interesting thing about the Bitcoin and Ethereum is we can see the market dominance of the Bitcoin is decreasing. Last time we talked is around 40 to 41 range, right? And then right now we can see Bitcoin is dropping, is at 39%, while Ethereum, the second largest cryptocurrency as a market cap in the world right now, its market dominance is increasing, 18.4. Isn't that strange? We always talk about how Ethereum rising up in the market cap and the Bitcoin decreasing in the market cap may be the first indicator of the next bull run. We talked about last time, and it seems like our talk has come to fruition. Let's have a look at the overall market. Bitcoin, as the time of the recording, is $46,000, and the 24 hours has increased 2.9%. Last 7 days is a whopping 5%. And the price of the Ethereum at the time of the recording is around $3,500, and 24 hours increment is 5.9%, and the last 7 days is a whopping 12%. And then let's have a look at all these altcoins. Avalanche last 7 days is 20% increment, and Terra Luna has always been hitting the all-time highs for the last whole week. At the moment of the recording is around $109. Last 7 days is 19.8%. Solana at $135. Last 24 hours 8.4%, and last 7 days increment is 37.3%. That's a whole. I don't know. What do you think? I think it might be a first indicator of the bull run. I mean, even yesterday there was a huge correction of the Bitcoin, as we can see on the chart right now, leading to every other altcoin is leading a huge drop. But last 7 days is still looking pretty good.
Yeah, I just want to jump in on that part. I think one of the reasons for the drop, it could possibly be people taking profits, because normally what tends to happen is when there's a decent run up, people take a little bit of profits, and then that causes the market to dip, and then there'll be a little bit of an increase afterwards. And that's why we always stress that it's important to take profits. That doesn't mean to dump your bags and sell everything, but just take a little bit in the market where it's so uncertain and nobody knows where it's going to go up or down. Just a little bit of profit, secure it, and then you can wait and see what happens next. And has these changes done anything to the greed and fear index, Shannon?
Of course, it has showed something. Last week when we talked about this, it was 51, and then right now it's 52 again. But what it doesn't show us is about 2 or 3 days ago, the fear and greed index was sitting around 64 to 65, which is showing greed. And then that's when I talk to people, look, it is showing greed now. I'm not saying you should dump your whole bag. We always talk about dollar costing average. You can dollar costing averaging in, and you can DCA in out. So what I was doing was taking some little bit of profit just to cover some of the uncertainties on the top. And then when the market dips again, and then that's time you buy in. So that's the general rule of thumb, but it's not a financial advice, of course, unless you want to copy my buying at the top experience.
Yeah, and that's the what we're all trying to avoid. So yeah, show us some more of the market. So what's been happening with Opensea and the trading volume there? Any news? Anything that catches your attention?
Right. So the first thing we want to have a look at is the monthly trading volume. As we can see, the January trading volume is about twice as what we did in the March. And we always talk about January was peaked out, February was cooling off, and March was even worse. And if you compare to the numbers, this one is about, January is about $5 billion of the trading volume, whereas right now, just to finish the March, because today is the 2nd of April, so March, the whole March is about $2.5 billion of the trading volume, which is only half. But if we have a look at the daily volume, we can see a strong trend that we're going up. I think, what do you think of this? We talked about last time when we were in the middle of the March, and then we talked about what was the reason that the market trading volume has dropped a lot, because of a lot of FUD, a lot of project, they start to rugging people. They want to make a quick buck and get out of here. So people are being extra cautious right now. Remember we said previously, when you get the whitelist spot and you're guaranteed you can make some money. So people start aping in January.
Exactly. And that's what my point was going to be. The amount of liquidity that's been taken out of the market due to FUD projects or just uncertainty in the market. Like you mentioned, you used to be a guarantee to make some profit on the whitelist, but now that's not too sure. So a lot of people are keeping their powder dry when it comes to mint day, not really minting, and only jumping into projects that they feel have an extremely strong team behind it with some history, or there's enough interest within the project to make them take the plunge to actually click the mint button.
I personally had some whitelist spot where I didn't mint at all. Did you have some?
Yeah, same here. I had a couple. I mean, there was one project I was going to mint a couple days ago, but the server got hacked on the day of the mint. So you just had to steer clear of it. And there was also another hack that was going around with the collab bots, but we can mention that a little bit later on in the show. So yeah, so Shannon, was there any other topics that you wanted to bring up? Because I know that the US, I'm not in the US, of course, you can tell by my accent, but I know that the US are looking to raise some funds through crypto taxes. Would you like to elaborate on that a little bit more for us?
Yeah, sure. I think that's the biggest news of the week. The Biden budget proposal estimates additional 11 billions in revenue by 2032 by updating crypto rules. So that's 10 years from now on, and then Biden's government is expecting a lot of more money from the tax income.
Yeah, that for me seems like bullish news. I don't know about you, but the fact that the government authorities are planning to regulate some facet of crypto is a good thing, because at least that way they will be left with no choice but to accept it. The genie is out of the bottle, so to speak, so I don't think there's any way in which they can stop it, especially with the big investors that they've had throughout the inception of BTC up until now, buying in, like Michael Saylor, to name one of them, constantly buying BTC. So I don't see how they would have been able to just shut the doors and say, right, that's it, we're banning it outright, because that would harm their economy in the long run, because a lot of these projects would well, they would go broke essentially. So and that's the honest truth. So the government they're too big to fail, so the government will have to think of a way to gain extra income from it, which is what governments around the world always try to do, to maximize their profit for as little effort as possible. So it'll be interesting to see how this develops, but 10 years from now is quite a long time for people to be stacking their stats, to be honest. And that's a Satoshi's.
Exactly. Yep, exactly. And I just think about how they are going to earn this money. You have to pay, when do you pay tax is after you make a profit. So if you don't make a profit, you don't have to pay the tax, right? That's a general rule of thumb. So they're expecting a lot of people to make a lot more money in these 10 years. 11 billions is a huge number, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a massive number. It is a massive number. And you know, as you have just popped up on the screen, and we look at the market caps of say companies like Apple, they're floating around at just under 3 trillion, and then you've also got Amazon, that's 1.6 trillion. Gold is coming up at 12 trillion. So it just goes to show that there is potentially some upward movement in BTC, and maybe some people would think it's undervalued. I mean, what do you think about that, Chan?
I think we're still early. We've been talking about this. We've been talking about how early we are since Bitcoin was around $10,000. And then we talk about how early we are. Even now we are at $45,000. We still think it's pretty early, because Bitcoin as a store of value, I think it has certainly have the possibility to go instead to, so that definitely have the possibility to go and replace gold in the future. And if we have the look at the market cap of gold, that's more than 10x from where we are right now, because gold is $12 trillion. When we just think about how much money Biden was gaining from the tax, that's 11 billions. And then we look at this one, that's nothing. That's nothing. And then Bitcoin is only on the 9th rank of the total market cap of all the assets. I mean, look at this. Apple's company stock market value is just below 3 trillion. And then that's only one company, right? And we're talking about Bitcoin, the next decentralized store value or currency. I mean, we don't even call it cryptocurrency anymore. It's more like a crypto asset nowadays. But yeah, I definitely think that's got a lot more room to grow compared to where we are right now.
And this is before mass adoption.
Exactly. We only have some handful names that have bought Bitcoins. I mean, the big names, such as Meta. I believe they're having a big bag of Bitcoins. I think Twitter has a lot of Bitcoins as well. Not to mention Tesla, not to mention MicroStrategy. Michael Saylor is a big Bitcoin maxi. And talking about Bitcoin maxi, we have got Wales Bitcoin addresses jumped by 8.3% in the last month. That's since the Russian war has happened. What do you think
Wow.
about this?
Yeah, I mean that's incredible. It just goes to show that people with money, which are normally defined as whales, who have a considerably larger bag than both you and I, Channing, they they're looking to BTC as a, potentially a safer store of their value, because we all know that, well, especially within war times, inflation hits hard, and that just devalues people's currencies as a whole, off the back of the pandemic as well, with governments literally printing money and most people drowning in money because they've been able to get some government form of help. That's meant that their spending power has been whittled away, and money is a depreciating asset, whereas crypto, especially Bitcoin, is speculated to be an appreciating asset. So it makes sense that they would transfer from legacy finance into the um, DeFi
Hmm.
world.
I agree. And then just for the people who's listening who don't know what the whales are, we classify Bitcoin whales as if you own more than 1,000 Bitcoins, and then that will make you a Bitcoin whale as well. And then for this news, we have more than 2,000 addresses are now holding at least 1,000 Bitcoins. So that's a huge number. And then for my point of view is when the war comes in, it's really hard to get normal fiat currency out of country, out of ATMs anyway. And then forget about gold. Like we talk about, gold has been the store of value for a long, long time. But imagine if you're in an war zone and then you have a bunch of gold. How are you going to carry that thing out of the country or transfer it out? You just literally can't.
Mm.
Whereas if you have Bitcoin, that takes about, I don't know, half an hour, probably. Depends on the gas, depends on the traffic condition, but 10 minutes to half an hour would be sufficient. And then don't even mention about how economically efficient transferring Bitcoin compared to transferring, let's say, 10 kilos of gold.
Yeah, exactly. But I suppose that's a topic for another podcast, because I know you wanted to talk about there was even more investment coming into the space. It seems like there's
Oh,
just tons of money coming into the space all the time. Um,
oh yes, tons of money, tons of money, 100%. By the way, have you heard about a unicorn startup? Do you know what that is?
well, the only thing I know about a unicorn is the fact that they are a rare mythical animal that very rarely exists. But I do know that to be classed as a unicorn business or startup, that you have to be valued over 1 billion. So I'm sure you're gonna share some more light on the unicorn startups.
Well, yeah, I mean, the unicorn startup is classified when you have a startup that's valued over $1 billion, which seems to be a lot of money 10 years ago, but not anymore. Let's have a look about how much money is pouring into this space. This news we have here, A16Z ex partner Katie have raised $1.5 billion for two new crypto focused funds. $1.5 billion.
Yeah,
And then
that's
we were
loads.
just talking about how a startup, after they develop, they have been valued at 1 billion, and then that's when they become a unicorn startup because they are so rare. They are unicorns, right? And this one, on this side, we have just a company just raising the fund $1.5 billion already.
So do you think that the bar for classification of a unicorn startup is going to be raised? Because, like you said before, when I was growing up, the pinnacle of wealth used to be a millionaire, and then as over time, a million was seen as nothing, and then it was multi-millionaire, and now it's a billionaire. So do you feel as though that there's going to be a similar sort of shift with businesses.
I certainly think so. We don't even use the word millionaire anymore because just I don't know about the housing market in your place. I live in Sydney, by the way, and then I think it was 2 or 3 years back, the median price of the Sydney houses has reached over $1 million, which means if you have a house in Sydney, and you're more than likely to be a millionaire already.
Mm.
So yeah, everything's changed, and then I think thanks to the fiat currency, the money devaluation, the inflation, and everything has made this happen. We couldn't have done this without you guys, Mr. Biden. Thank you very much for it. Yep. And then talk about money raising. There's another NFT game, which is called Cross the Ages, and which is backed by Ubisoft and Animoca brands. This game is called Polygon. It's a game, NFT game on Polygon chain, and it has raised $12 million in the seed round of the investing.
I mean, once again, that is just a positive sign of people feeling that there is a future in this space. And last week we mentioned about gaming NFTs on Solana platform, and the Polygon platform has had tons of building taking place on it throughout the 2021, and obviously now in 2022. I feel as though this will be the year for games to start showing what they've got, coming to the table with the goods. And I know the game in question is like a card-based game, but we've already seen that that can be successful with games that take place on IMX. I think it's Chains on Guard, or Guardians Unchained, sorry. And it's just more bullish sentiment that the future is going to be bright.
I agree. And then I always talk to so when my parents start asking me, what is an NFT? And then what are you doing with your cryptocurrencies? I always find it's very hard to explain things in just a few words. But NFT, on the other hand, is a better thing to explain, easier to explain, especially when they come together with the games. Because essentially, all the cards, all the characters, or all the accessories that you have in the game can be treated or traded as an NFT. So basically, you can trade your characters, you can trade your clothing, skins, everything as an NFT. So that not only brings the people to become participating in the market, it also lets people to move on, get easier to move on to the next game. Let's say you invested a lot of money into one game, and then one day you don't feel like playing it anymore, and then all the money, all the energy, all the time you have spent is wasted. But whereas now you can basically sell them on the open market and then grab the money to go to the next game.
Yeah.
Also,
And
yeah, go on.
no, I was going to say the two things that I stand out to me with regards to gaming in Web3 is that it will also teach subliminally how to operate within the space. So if you take Axie Infinity, for example, you have two tokens, and those tokens both have different properties, and by owning an Axie, you yield a particular token of one of them. So that means that people that are playing the game will get a better understanding of how the market works, and they will gain the skills, real life skills, by playing the game. So you're also learning whilst you're earning and playing, which is exceptional. And the other piece that I find really interesting is Ubisoft, another big AAA game studio, once again stating their intent of getting into Web3 gaming, because they made an announcement a few months ago with regards to Rainbow Six coming to Web3 potentially, and it was faced with a lot of backlash. But the fact that they have jumped in with the funding, additional funding of a project, shows that there is strength and conviction behind their thought process and where they see the space going, and that is positive. Also, Animoca Brands, they're a massive gaming studio within Web3. For me, they're probably at the forefront. Near enough anything they touch is successful. I'm not going to say it turns to gold because it hasn't been realized, but their flagship, in my opinion, flagship project is something called Phantom Galaxies, which looks like it could be the real deal. If you go onto their websites, which is going to be linked below, everything that we've spoken about will be linked below as well, so make sure you check that out. But definitely go to the Phantom Galaxies website, check out their gameplay, which is real gameplay, and
Yep.
they've also got NFTs which allow you to play test versions of the game essentially, so you can actually check it out and see how it is for yourself.
Yeah, that's a fantastic game. Like you have to check it out. It's really nice. It's the graphics are amazing to have a look at it. And then I'm not too sure if you know, but they are actually the studio. They are based in Sydney. Did you know that? Like
Yeah, I did
where
know
I'm
that.
come from.
Yeah, I did know that. I mean, it's great to see that Web3 transcends or traverses the whole world. To be honest, you got so many people in so many different parts that are involved in Web3 in one way or another, and that leads us into the next section, which is in real life meetups. So this week, Miami NFT kicked off, and there's been a lot of positive reactions towards NFT events, and I feel as though personally this may be the new, not the new meta, but a shift in the meta. What do you think about it, Shannon?
Yeah, we always talk about how we want to integrate the Web3 with Web2, or we want to connect the reality to the metaverse that we are having. And these things, especially when you see the mayor of Miami is participating in the event as well, you can know that at least there's going to be causing a lot of hypes. And I actually think you see this big bar, rise of bar over here. I
Hmm.
think I think that has something to do with the Miami NFT week as well.
Yeah, because I know that the mayor of Miami wanted or had plans to do something called like the Miami coin. I don't know how far along the line that is, but at least the thought is there, which is positive. And also, we mentioned it last week about um, buying buying the rumor and selling the news. And when you
Yep.
have these in real life events, sometimes the opposite can happen where you actually buy the news. And by that I mean Azuki, one of the flagship leading anime style projects in the space, they had an event which was kind of like an E3 event. And for any of you non-gamers out there, E3 is like a games convention where all the top studios come together and showcase their upcoming works and projects. And Azuki, they had a video that they played, and at the end of the video, they dropped a kind of a statement saying, "Check your wallets," and that caused a lot of positivity as a result. I think they were airdropped something called Dirt, which was in relation to April Fools, but the fact that they were on stage doing presentation, had a video, and it had that E3 feel, that ties into the fact that gaming studios are coming in. So I wouldn't be surprised in the future, and not too distant future, if we start seeing Ubisoft and Animoca Brands and all well, animal brands are Web3, but I don't want to name any companies just in case they don't want to get into it. But let's imagine that you can get those Web2 companies attending Web3 and they're starting to launch games, or platforms like Polygon say, yes, we've got Ubisoft. This is the game that we're going to be releasing. Then it could shift the narrative.
Well, Web3 is all good and we all love about it, but there's one downside. I think we are abusing it, and I don't think we can stress this enough. Uh, is the safety issue. This week we have the news: Axie Infinity Ronin network suffers a whopping $625 million exploit. This may be the largest exploit in the DeFi history. Have you heard about this news?
Yeah, I did hear about that. The crazy thing about this is that they didn't actually notice that there was an exploit. They only realized there was an exploit when somebody tried to basically exchange um, tokens for some funds, and they couldn't, and then obviously that raised the alarm flag. So there is an investigation going on of some sort to identify how that happened. From what I know, Ronin's its own network and they have their own validator nodes. So for an exploit to happen, a certain number, the majority of validator nodes have to be compromised, and somehow the hacker or hackers were able to compromise the majority of the nodes on the Ronin network. Like I said, they're still investigating, so I don't know, but it is something that to be aware of.
Yep. Do you think the fund can be transferred back or traced back?
Phew. Personally, I think it's unlikely. If the scammer was smart enough and skilled enough to be able to pull this off, I can't see how they would be able to get tracked. But like I said, I'm not a tech expert, so there may be some way, but from my limited understanding, more often or not, if you lose funds in Web3, then it's gone. And
Yep.
there's for people who aren't involved in games, there's other ways in which you can get scammed, because there was another hack that went around via the Collabland bot. So apparently this week, if you're in Discord,
Oh
which is
yes. Yes.
yeah, so if you're in Discords, which are the platform used by projects to um, basically create a server related to their project, there's something called a Collabland bot, and that Collabland bot is used to verify your account as like a proof of ownership. So, for instance, if you hold a project, like I hold something called Angry Apes Army, if I collab land bot and verify my account, they can see that I'm a holder of their NFTs, which means that I will get assigned a special role within the server. However, you always have to make sure you know what you're clicking, because a lot of people, they will click links, they'll see Collabland bot or what they think is Collabland bot, and then just click without even reading. Because I've seen, I remember once I got sent a scam message. Somebody tried to impersonate a team member from a project called
Oh yes, I've
Toadstools.
been there before.
Yeah, so they tried to impersonate a team member from Toadstools, sent a message, and the link that they sent, Collabland bot um was spelled incorrectly. But some
Mhm.
people would just click it and think, oh, great, a member of the team's reached out to me. I'm gonna get whitelist, blah blah blah. Let me just click it, and then next thing you know, the damage is done. So,
Yep.
um,
Your wallet's drained and then that's it. And
mm,
then that's the worst part of the Web3 is, well, fellas, you ask for Web3, you ask for decentralization, and now you have it. But the good thing about the Web2 is once your fund got transferred, or let's say your credit card got used on the other side of the globe, and then you can easily claim that money back. But in the Web3, once your fund is lost, it is more often than not, it is lost forever.
Yeah,
So
and
please be careful out there.
I know you've got some additional news with regards to funds being lost that you're gonna drop on us. So hit us with the heavy stuff.
Oh yes, so that was the Mt. Gox. So for the people who don't know about Mt. Gox, that it was one of the biggest exchange, centralized exchange of the cryptocurrencies back in 2013 and 2014, and then it was this exchange was holding over 70% of all the Bitcoin's transactions worldwide. And
Wow.
then at the time, it lost around 850,000 Bitcoins, which was valued pretty much around, quick math is $20 million back then. That
Mm.
was a lot already, $20
What's
million,
it worth
even
now?
though that is a good question. They are worth, as the time of the recording, they're worth about $40 billion.
Wow. Wow. That is an insane amount of money.
Exactly. Well, I can't even comprehend how much money it is. Like I can't think about how much money it is. And then the former Mt. Gox CEO releases the commemorative NFT collection, which has a total supply of 1,066,097 of the NFTs, which is exactly the number of accounts back then.
Oh
And
wow.
then they're releasing these NFTs just to, I don't know, I hardly think there will be any art or roadmap or anything about NFTs, their NFT, but it at least gives them a OG badge on their chest, saying, okay, you been there, done that, you're OG of the space. Congratulations, you have got this.
Yeah. And I think for me personally, that's also a double-edged sword. It's a good thing about Web3 and a bad thing about Web3 because the there may be a time when people say jumping on the bandwagon to create something historical or to mark a historical event. So, for instance, CryptoPunks being the first NFTs on the blockchain, or one of them at least, that profile pic um, NFTs, that created like some historic value. So I feel as though some people are using that to to their own gain. I'm not saying accusing Mount Gox of doing that, but it's just to signify blocks in history. And as we saw this week, Will Smith DAO, Slap DAO, was created um, as a
Snap.
result. Yeah. So it just goes to show that there are going to be risks associated with certain events being made into NFTs. Like there was there's an infamous project called Pixelmon that done a lot of fundraising, and the art didn't look how the trailers
Not at
were.
all.
I'm trying to speak
No.
politely without being too too inflammatory, but there was a character called Kevin, and that Kevin was made into a meme, and that for me shows also a double-edged sword, the good side of Web3 community, because we band together to make light of certain situations which can bring people joy in some way, shape, or form in misfortunate circumstances. But what I will say, anything like that, the Kevin meme and the Will Smith slapdown, is considered ultra risky, like ultra risky. And personally, I don't go anywhere near stuff like that. I mean, I don't know how
Nope.
much of a degen you are, Channing, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, not touching with the 10 feet pole, as they say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. And that, unfortunately, Nuggets, brings this show to an end. However, before we go, we have an Easter egg to drop for you. in the spirit of Easter. For you eagle-eyed viewers that are watching on YouTube, we have a competition running in partnership with Antebellum, an exciting new NFT project. We're going to run some footage for you. So Channing, if you don't mind hitting the button and showing a little snippet of what people can expect.
Here we go.
Okay, so I'm going to explain how this works, guys. Throughout the video, we have been showing some cuckoos, which are foxes, and all you have to do, count the number of cuckoos, send a screenshot showing that you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, and you'll be entered into a raffle for 10 whitelist spots. So make sure you're going to have to probably re-watch the video and keep your eyes peeled. And to
I was
also
wondering what was running around in the podcast.
yeah, well, there you go. That was a sneaky little activity from us and Antebellum. But just to add on, make sure to qualify, you have to be following both ourselves, Nifty Nuggets, and the Antebellum Twitter pages, so that we'll be able to notify the winners when they are selected, and the links for that will be provided below. So have fun with that, ladies and gents. Make sure you get involved, and we will be able to talk some more, share some more information with regards to the project later on. And you can check them out as well online on all their socials, so make sure you do that. And speaking of which, make sure you follow us on Twitter, and that's at Nuggets Nifty. Also, make sure you hit the bell notification so you know when the next episode drops. Subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, and if you liked what you've heard, leave a comment below. Also, if you have any views and anything that you'd like us to talk about, drop those in the comments too. Don't forget, follow us at Nuggets Nifty, and you can get us direct into your ears via Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So, until next time, stay crispy.
Have a good week, guys.